I've been a private train conductor for 7 years. Most people don't even know private trains exist. Not the luxury kind for tourists, but the ones that move between places, not listed on any public schedule. No passengers, no stops you can find on a map. Just me, a steel engine, and a list of rules that keep getting stranger. At first, the rules were simple. Never stop between tunnels. Never open the cargo cars. And if you hear knocking, don't answer. But last month, they added a fourth rule that didn't make any sense. If someone boards the train after 3 a.m., do not acknowledge them, no matter what. I remember laughing when I read that. Who would even get on a moving train in the middle of nowhere? Now I wish I had taken it seriously. It was supposed to be a routine night run, a midnight departure from Blackwell Station to Terminal 19, a route that doesn't officially exist. The train was half a mile long, heavy, old, and always groaning like it was alive. I checked the gauges, the pressure, the radio, nothing but static. That's normal out there. There's no signal, no GPS, no cell service, just the sound of the rails chewing through the dark. Still, something about that night felt wrong. The headlights didn't cut through the fog. The windows looked like mirrors instead of glass. The air inside the cabin was colder than it should have been. Then I heard it knocking. At first, I told myself it was the rails, or maybe something loose in the cargo. But then the sound came again. 3 slow, deliberate knocks from the third cargo car. Knock. 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 My breath caught in my throat. It wasn't the rhythm of metal on metal. It was human. My hand trembled as I grabbed the flashlight and stepped out into the corridor. The air between the cars felt like walking through a refrigerator. The knocking stopped just as I reached the third car. The lock was twisted open from the inside. That's when I knew someone or something was in there with me. I opened the door, and the cold hit me so hard my flashlight dimmed for a second. Inside, it was pitch black, except for a thin silver light leaking through a crack in the roof. I saw crates, tarps, and the faint smell of wet soil and rust. Then I noticed a handprint on the inside of the door. Fresh, wet, human. I backed away, radio shaking in my hand. Dispatch, this is Train 47. I've got an intruder on board. Static, I said, then a voice broke through. Soft, whispering right behind me. Close the door. I turned around fast. No one was there. The flashlight beam caught something on the floor. A conductor's cap. Not mine. Old, dusty, but stained dark around the brim. Then the lights flickered, and in that half-second of darkness, I saw someone standing at the far end of the car. He was wearing my uniform, but his face wasn't right. It looked almost human, but rearing head eyes too far apart, mouth slightly higher than it should be, as if someone had tried to remember what I looked like but got it wrong. When the lights came back on, he was gone. I was alone. Except the rule book I always kept in my pocket was lying on the floor, open to a new page that hadn't existed before. A new rule written in red ink. If you see yourself on the train, do not approach. Did you know rail companies lose track of hundreds of trains every year? They just vanish from the network. No records, no debris, no explanation. Sometimes I wonder if they end up here. Wherever this is, a place between stations where the tracks loop but never arrive. That night, I realized the rules weren't for safety. They were for containment. Hours passed. The fog outside thickened until it felt alive. The headlights flickered, the brakes refused to respond, and the cabin lights dimmed to a pulse, like a heartbeat. Then, without me touching a single control, the intercom turned on. Next up, passenger boarding. My stomach dropped. There are no passengers on this route. The doors opened by themselves, and the night outside was bottomless, pure black. But through it, shapes began to appear. Shadows stepping into the light, one by one, dozens of them. Silent. Human-shaped. But not human. They filled the aisle, watching me. Their eyes glowed faintly white, like old film negatives still burning. Then, in unison, they whispered, "Conductor, you're Late. I stumbled backward into the engine cabin and slammed the control door shut. My pulse was pounding so loud I could barely hear the wheels. The train surged forward on its own, sparks spraying from the rails. Through the cabin window, I could still see them standing perfectly still, faces expressionless, heads tilting in unison. Then I saw one of them sitting in the front seat. My seat. He didn't move. Just stared straight ahead through the glass. And that's when I realized something horrifying. He wasn't wearing my uniform anymore. I was wearing his. When he woke up, the train wasn't moving. The fog was gone. The air was dead quiet. I thought maybe it was over until I looked outside. There was no station, no landscape, just endless tracks stretching in every direction, curving into each other like veins. My radio crackled to life again. Welcome back, Conductor 47. Please review your updated rules. A new sheet printed from the machine beside me. 5 rules. Maintain the schedule. Keep the doors sealed. Do not disobey the track. Do not acknowledge the others. Replace yourself when your shift ends. I looked up and froze. Outside the glass stood another me, identical, smiling faintly. He lifted a hand and waved before stepping back into the fog. Then the train started moving again. I didn't touch a single lever. The wheels turned, the lights flickered back on, and the rails began to hum. I wasn't the conductor anymore. I was the cargo. Sometimes I still hear the radio, faint, distant, calling through static. Sometimes, when people stand too close to the tracks at night, they swear they hear a voice asking for help, asking what time it is, asking if the next train is coming. If you ever hear that, don't answer. That's me, still trying to get off the train. If you dare, click here for the next nightmare. A story even darker than this one. The station that appears only at 3:33 a.m. Once you boarded, the doors never open again.